Hi, this is Colin Hung with Healthcare IT Today, and I'm excited to sit down today with Jeff Fallon, Chairman and CEO of eVidean Healthcare. Jeff, welcome to the program.
Hi, Colin. Thanks for having me. I'm thrilled to be talking to you today.
And Jeff, maybe before we start, what does eVideon do? Can you give us a quick description?
Yeah, eVideon is a healthcare technology company. We use smart devices at the bedside, whether it's a smart TV on the wall of a hospital room or a tablet at the bedside, or smart devices all around the hospital to push specific patient engagement information to patients to demystify what's happening for them that's got them in the bed. The idea being do a great job engaging patients in their own care and reduce the chances they'll be readmitted and improve satisfaction and efficiency of the care team while you're at it.
So what I thought was interesting, Jeff, was you have a COVID-19 statement on your website where you're encouraging your clients to embrace something you've called distraction therapy. Can you explain what that is?
Yeah, it's you love these multi-syllabic words to describe something really simple, and the simple idea is it's relaxation content, beautiful imagery, really tuned to reduce stress and to distract the patient from whatever has them in bed, which is often, and particularly these days, some pretty frightening stuff. Now, happily, there's great data that says when people are able to de-stress through this kind of distraction or relaxation therapy or guided imagery, it's sometimes called, great things can happen medically too, in terms of reducing blood pressure, heart rate, breathing and oxygen needs as well. So it's a wonderful complement to a patient that's in a hospital bed and probably quite stressed.
I totally can understand that this is a very stressful situation, especially if you have to go to a hospital these days. So I like that. I like that concept of having just something relaxing on that TV screen, on that interactive display, just to try and calm what is probably a very, very awful reason why you have to be at the hospital right now.
Yeah, it's generally not a happy thing, aside from maybe childbirth, right, which is obviously a joyous occasion, but lots of other stuff lands you in the hospital. It's got you pretty well in fear of your life. And anything that we can do to help a patient relax and de-stress, and it is time well spent, we feel like.
Well, that kind of brings me to my next question. What you're talking about really falls into the realm of patient experience, right? And in an emergency situation, the focus obviously is on preserving life and preserving the health of the people delivering care, rightfully so. And therefore, things like patient experience kind of tends to be pushed to the side. But of course, you've said that it's actually very important. Why is it important to keep patient experience on the radar?
Well, look, we think patient experience is important no matter what's happening across the country, right? So pandemic or not, it's important to be mindful of how the care that's being delivered is landing on the patient. Again, it's a pretty fearful, sometimes quite distraught patient that we find ourselves interacting with. But I'd say, Colin, with regard to this idea of experience, we really focus on patient engagement. And through focusing on patient engagement, numerous good things come out of that. And an improvement in experience is one of those things that comes out of it. But when people are engaged in their own care, when they simply understand what's happening for them that has them in a hospital bed to begin with, data shows that quality goes up, cost goes down, satisfaction goes up as well. And we think that doing this right technologically can provide a great deal of efficiency for the care team as well, which has tremendous impact on their own satisfaction, the satisfaction of the staff as well. So I'd say that while we certainly talk a lot about patient experience, it's the idea of engaging patients in their own care and using technology to do that in a highly efficient manner, and coming out of that is experience, but also quality and satisfaction and efficiency too.
I like that. So you basically, what you're saying is engagement is really the goal. Experience is just one of the outcomes that go along with engaging the patient in their care.
Yeah, well said. And even during the pandemic, we think that engaging people in their own care continues to be a huge priority. Back to the issue of a stressed patient. And as Americans who carry these things around in our pockets and our jackets all day long, we have information at our fingertips. And when we're a patient in a bed, probably in one of the most vulnerable positions of our entire lifetime, we have access to less information than normal. Although you do still have access to Dr. Google through this thing, right? But the hospital has the opportunity through using technology at the bedside to provide their own prescribed video education about whatever has the patient in the bed, rather than just leaving it up to whatever the patient finds online. So there's a tremendous opportunity to use this technology to improve the outcomes, lower the cost, improve the satisfaction, while you're also helping to keep staff at a safe and healthy distance.
I love it. I love it. Now, eVidiian has now expanded beyond its traditional roots in the IPTV market. You have a whole smart room suite of products that you've introduced, including things like tablets, digital door displays, digital whiteboards even. You've even introduced a technology that will allow patients to connect eVideon from their own devices. Can you tell me a little bit more about that whole smart room concept?
Yeah, we're really excited about it. We were looking forward to showing the world all about it at HIMSS, which was obviously canceled thanks to the pandemic. But so our core value proposition continues to be using this technology at the bedside, tablets, or smart TVs on the wall. But if you think about the entire campus of a hospital as a place where specific information pushed to whoever happens to be holding a device or walking past the device or sitting in a waiting room or a staff breakout room, it's all the same idea that we use at the bedside, where at the bedside, this personalized information is to help the patient understand, but in digital displays throughout the campus of the hospital, specific information can be pushed to those individual displays that is pushing the right information to those people who will be walking past at the right time. It might be promoting new visitation policies. It could be celebrating nurses who've done a fantastic job. It could be promoting flu shots, right? So we're using digital displays all over the hospital campus, digital signage, but also, as you rightly note, Colin, tablets outside the hospital room. We call them digital door signs. Those things are manual, and they come in many different ways, sort of colored flags that flip back and forth around the bar to convey information to the staff that needs to come and know what they're walking into when they walk in the room. So we can digitize these things and make them dynamically updating informatics in a HIPAA compliant way to the staff or visitors who come to that patient's room. We're also using some really cool displays for digital whiteboards. So the white dry erase marker that's on the wall of the patient room, which is, it's a wonderful tool for the nursing staff. It's often, because it's a manual tool, it's often not updated as dynamically as you'd like. And that manual updating of it actually presents a risk for infection these days, which is obviously top of mind. So we use digital displays to make that even more dynamic, even more information filled, and even more timely updated, because it's happening automatically through integration to all kinds of tools that the hospital's already invested in. So that's really our vision for a smart room. We might even say it's kind of a smart campus concept. It's the cornerstone of what we're doing and what we see as ahead.
Well, that's amazing. I mean, you touched on a little element there that I'm certainly very excited about, which is this whole concept of, knowing who it is in the room based on the devices that are in there, right? So personalized, you hear about this in the advertising space in the mall, where if you walk by and it knows who you are, the display on the wall will change to something that it knows that that you buy or that you might be interested in. It sounded like where you were going is like, just by knowing where the patients are, you could provide information that's specific and personalized to that patient, so it's relevant, whether that's in their room or in other places around the campus.
Yeah, and in terms of knowing who your care team is, we have the ability to not just present who the care team is on the digital whiteboard or whatever the interface is for the patient, but also we can integrate with real-time location systems, RTLS systems, so that when a staff member walks in the room, whether it's a nurse or housekeeping or dietary or clergy or whomever, their name is announced on the patient's front-facing display, their title, their photo, and it can actually be logged so that everybody knows, patient knows who came and when. Yeah, and you also asked a bit ago, and I skipped right by your question, Colin, so I wanted to circle back to it. You asked about the patients using their own device, and so yes, we've actually just introduced the ability for the patient to use their own smartphone, their own tablet to control what's being shown on the whiteboard on the wall or on the interface. So they're able to change their name. They can adjust the goals that they have on their whiteboard. They can signify what their pain score is at the moment. And of course, this is a dynamic interface with other information systems of the hospital, so staff can be alerted as needed for any updates that they might make to that. So the ability for the patient to use their own device to control that is pretty tremendous. But I'd say one of the most exciting things, particularly for the pandemic right now, is what we're about to launch in terms of virtual visits on the patient's own device. So we are in beta now with an application that the patient will be able to, without downloading software, launch a virtual visit with friends or family from inside their bed. They don't have to have the friends or family outside the hospital download an application. And they can do, a video visit, which is obviously got huge implications for this pandemic, which has put dramatic clamps on the ability for folks to visit. And then the last thing about this virtual visit tool that I'll say, this other use case we're really excited about. I was actually talking to my cardiologist this morning about it, and she thought it'd be tremendous. The ability for staff, whether it's a doctor on the other side of town or on the other side of the country, or a nurse at the nurse's station, to use that same application to call back into the patient's room without downloading applications, to kind of dial up the room number and do a video consultation. So they don't have to put on PPE. They may not have to drive across town to do this visit with the patient that's in the bed. So obvious efficiency and the potential to reduce contagion for the staff with that kind of an innovation that we're super excited about, and hospitals that we're talking to are urgently looking forward to that, let's say.
No, thank you for that. That is amazing, and I'm excited for that RTLS stuff when it finally arrives in mainstream. But Jeff, you just recently had your 1-year anniversary at eVidiian, and so what I wanted to ask is, what have you seen change in the year you've been at the company? So what has changed at the company, but also what have you seen changed in the industry?
Yeah, good question, and it's funny. Maybe not so funny. I'm thinking about the last year, and it's hard with these last, 6 or so weeks here in Western Pennsylvania of the pandemic to be thinking about what happened in the year before the pandemic, because so much has changed so rapidly. But I guess I would say that while the pandemic has dominated not just my memory, I think it's also dominated the attention and the investment we've put into our development roadmap. So, of course, these things like this virtual visitation that I've described to you on the smartphone and other virtual kind of engagement tools that we've created have been on our roadmap because of the pandemic. We dragged them forward. You can't pick up a newspaper today, certainly not a healthcare technology publication, without reading about the application of virtual conferences, video conferences, and this idea. So I'd say that we've invested significantly in the last year in pulling things forward on the development roadmap to be able to deliver things like we've talked about today. And I guess that the thing that, when I think about what's changed for the industry, maybe, Colin, is that up until this pandemic, I'd say that there was still a fair part of the hospital community that felt that these kinds of technologies, this idea of virtual engagements, or this idea of digital engagement at the bedside to improve satisfaction, efficiency, quality, and all that I've talked about here, was kind of an amenity, not a necessity. But I believe that the pandemic has really demonstrated that even if we can go totally back to normal, what normal was before in terms of delivering care, even if that's possible, what we've realized in terms of the efficiency we gained through the use of these virtual technologies and digital technologies in the delivery of healthcare when we had to, my sense is that they now are really a must-have, not just a nice-to-have. And I think time will tell on that, but I believe that there's going to be a long tail to this pandemic in many ways, and that's going to be one of them. The way that this demonstrated the use case for virtual engagement technologies like eVideon's.
And Jeff, if we were to get together a year from now, what do you hope when we look back and say what's changed in the industry? What do you hope we're going to be talking about?
Well, yeah, I hope we look back and say, boy, we navigated this pandemic right, and it's a distant memory. I think in terms of our business in this digital healthcare technology space, I think that we're getting a crash course right now as a population in how working virtually can still deliver high quality work and good outcomes, good results for businesses. The economy is in terrible shape, as you know, but I do believe that what we're doing right now in terms of virtual work is going to continue and reverberate for quite some time. And I believe that the same thing is going to be something we'll talk about in a year, that for all the talk of innovation and virtualization and value-based care in healthcare in the last 10 years, the pandemic, I think, is going to be one of those pivotal points that caused us to do things differently out of necessity. And as I think Plato said, necessity is the mother of invention. Yeah. So it was necessary that we apply these virtual kind of approaches. And I believe that in a year, we will look back and we'll say, look at the amazing results we were able to accomplish because of things that we started to do, because we finally had to do them because of the pandemic. So new gains in efficiency of care, the realization that you actually could treat millions of patients virtually, and you actually could deliver high quality, high satisfaction, great outcomes with a remarkable degree of convenience for the patient and for the staff who delivers that care. So I hope that that's what we're able to look back on in years, is that we're able to really realize some of the goals and aspirations that we've talked about for quite some time, but have kind of been elusive.
And Jeff, I would love to talk about this all day with you. I know, patient experience and patient engagement is one of my favorite topics, but we have to end our conversation. And so, what is the one thing you're hoping people watching this video will take away from our conversation today?
Yeah. I think as the world reopens for business, and we all consider how do we begin that, and healthcare is a business that will reopen as well for the kind of profitable cases that have all been canceled, and it'll be a tremendously positive thing for hospitals. I pray. Believe that this is going to create a heck of an opportunity for hospitals, but it's going to be a heck of a challenge for hospitals as well, because there's a great deal of postponed elective care that needs to be done. And those folks with that postponed care, those postponed needs unmet, will have concern about continued risk of infection. And those folks are going to need a bit of hand-holding, some information about what's happening for them, and information that's going to help them feel comfortable coming into the doctor's office or the clinic or the hospital, as it were. So I think that the one thing that I would ask folks to think about here is that, I've been saying for a very long time, and I think it's true now more than ever, that a technology like eVideon used at the bedside and throughout the hospital campus is really going to be a core tool to be able to deliver higher quality, more satisfying care for more people than ever before, because of the efficiency inherent in using this stuff, not just for the staff, but also for the patients. So I would think that that will be amplified post-pandemic, and that complicating that or maybe amplifying or magnifying it is the recognition that distance engagement is going to continue to be a really important thing for providers who are engaging those folks who are a little bit nervous about the continued risk of infection. So there's probably more than one or two or even four things in that, Colin, but I feel passionately about this stuff. And,
very clearly
like
you do, Jeff. Very clearly you do, and that's awesome. That is awesome. So Jeff, final question: where can people go if they want to find out more about eVideon?
Yeah, so our website is www.evideon.com, and that's like video with an E at the beginning and an N at the end. But I'd also say, we're pretty active on Twitter and LinkedIn and Facebook. I'm particularly active on LinkedIn. Would be thrilled to be connected with folks there. And then I'm also happy to just share my email address, and I'd be thrilled to hear from anybody who's got something they'd like to talk to us about. So my email is Jeff, Jeff.Fallon, Fallon, at eVideon.com, and I'd be happy if anybody would want to reach out to me directly, Colin.
Awesome. Well, Jeff, thank you so much for taking the time to speak with us today, or speak with me today. Really appreciate everything you shared, and good luck with all the stuff you're doing with the Smart Room.
Thank you very much, Colin. Appreciate your time, and stay healthy, my friend.
This is Colin Hung at Healthcare IT Today. Thanks for listening.